Welcome to Love Your Midlife. I'm so glad that you found my channel. Whether you are early in the midlife phase or you're later in the midlife phase like I am, it's a lot of fun. We cover a lot of interesting topics here. Hopefully things that'll make your life better and more interesting and bring some value to that. I hope you like the channel. There are meditations on this channel. There's a 30-day body image. If that's helpful for you at all, there's lots and lots of different videos and different topics. So I hope you love this YouTube channel, and I hope that you will subscribe below. And I hope that you will let me know if there's any topics that you would love to hear about. And any of the videos, if you like them, let me know and hit the thumbs up button. That's always very helpful too. And also down below, you'll find my website, Love Your Midlife. There are free downloads on my website and a lot of other interesting things on there. My podcast is on my website. So check out www.loveyourmidlife and see what else is going on there. I'm so glad you found me on the podcast today. We have been having so much fun with the podcast and been getting a lot of really positive feedback. It's so nice sometimes to just be riding around in the car and you see something really interesting, like, do I take things too personally? And you get to watch a short, listen to a short podcast about that. And hopefully it gives you a little bit of time for reflection and something to think about. I love that. I love podcasts. Oh my gosh. I have my favorites and I listen to them mainly to help me think a little bit deeper and sometimes get a little bit more clear. And also at the bottom of the podcast, you will see my website, Love Your Midlife. And if you go to the website, there are a lot of free downloads on the website. There's a free workbook on the website that might be helpful for you if you're in the first stages of trying to figure out exactly kind of where you are on getting some clarity. There's the podcast on the website, and there are a lot of videos on the website. So if that interests you at all, just go to www.loveyourmidlife, and there'll be a lot of information there that you can kind of go through and see if any of that is helpful for you. Well, recently we had a very interesting holiday in the United States called Halloween. And even though I'm not really a big fan of Halloween, it always causes me to think of all of the really kind of creepy, scary things. You go to the stores and there's vampires and there's all this kind of scary stuff. And even though I'm not a fan, it's kind of fun to take a look at it and see what's going on. And recently I've been dealing with a couple of difficult relationships. And I realize that there are people out there that are energy vampires with toxic behavior. Ooh, that is very scary. The truth is, it's very real. And if you've been in those kind of relationships, you can definitely relate. And it's hard uh, in our lifetime not to say that we're not going to meet some of these interesting people that have interesting personality traits. Have you ever been around a friend or a family member, a neighbor or a coworker? And unfortunately, this could be your spouse too, and you might not even be aware that they continually make you feel confused, anxious, frustrated, and even guilty, which is really horrible. This is someone that you're spending time with. And, it got to the point with me where sometimes I'd be around these people and the hair would just go up on the back of my neck. And I was like, oh, I'm dreading this. I do not want to be around this person. And they're toxic people because they feed on your willingness to listen and care for them. And they're vampires because they take and take and take, just like a vampire does. And so those two combinations right there are leading us to a very frustrating and very difficult relationship. Very often they kind of zap your energy, and very often they leave you feeling empty and unfulfilled. And to be honest, this can be going on in your life with a relationship with someone, and it becomes the normal. And so you're unaware uh, how horrible their behavior can be, and you're unaware of how toxic this person can be to you and how much distress they can cause with their words and their actions. So, we're going to talk about that today. I have certainly been in these relationships, and I didn't know what some of the terminology was back in the day. And they really can be very damaging to you. You can end up having to go to therapy and all kinds of things like that. So, I wanted to talk about identifying these types of toxic relationships, and then I want to talk about better ways to deal with these kind of toxic relationships because they really are all around us. Toxic behavior is used to describe a person who is unaware of their behavior and unaware that it causes distress with their negative words and their negative actions. So they may not be aware of it and you may not be either. It just makes you feel bad. And then all of a sudden you kind of get a little bit more intel about this and you're like, wait a second, this isn't me. This is not my fault. I shouldn't be having these kinds of feelings. So that's really important to remember that. They have zero regard for your life and for your emotions. And if you really stand back and think about it, they never ask you how you're doing. They never ask you what's going on in your life. They kind of come in and hijack the conversations or they hijack the lunch, whatever kind of relationship you have with this person. And you're just kind of like, why do they always need to be the center of attention? Why are they like this? Well, there's a really good reason, but these are some of the signs that this is what that person is. They have no self-awareness. And I did a video on this on YouTube a while back. And it's really important that we have self-awareness, that we know how we are affecting others around us, why others are drawn to us. Well, toxic people don't have any self-awareness. They really don't care in a way. They're just kind of like a bull, going through the china closet and, leaving the glass and everything else on the floor. They just don't really care. Um, these are the type of people that, if you're in a work situation, maybe you're in an office, you're having a bad day, you're upset, you could even be crying, and they come in and they want to show you their new purse or their new outfit. They have zero regard for you and they have zero regard for your feelings. Um, the tricky thing about uh, emotional vampires and energy vampires is they're very charismatic. They're very clever about the way they do things. They very often are, people are drawn to them because they have all this charisma. They're usually smart. They may be entertaining. They may be funny. You may be caught up in some of their stories. And so sometimes it's kind of hard to recognize that when that's going on, right? Because we want to be around people that are charismatic, smart, funny. They always, a lot of times, want to go do stuff and go do fun stuff, and that's all super positive. The problem is underneath that, like not even a layer, is all of these personality disorders and all of these other issues. And it rears its ugly head sometime in that relationship, sometimes early on, maybe a little bit later on. But don't want to take they don't want to take any accountability for anything. And you'll notice that if you pay close attention. They know very well how to play the game of blame and shame and guilt. And you'll notice that too. And those feelings will come up. They use lots of different ways to lay their problems onto you. They find very clever ways to lay their problems onto you, or it might be someone else in the room, but they, excuse me, don't take any accountability for any of their actions. Um, a lot of them have a dark core of personality traits, traits that manifest as a tendency to put themselves down um, and while justifying their behavior to avoid the blame and the shame. So they may act like they know what they're doing. They may say, oh, me bad, and things like that. But they really don't want to take any accountability. They want to shift everything off of themselves and onto you. If this sounds familiar, here are some other signs of a toxic person, energy vampire, um, anybody that's in your life that's just taking, 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 and stealing. And after that, we're going to discuss how to cope and how to deal with these people. It's not unusual for these people to be a relative. And we have a lot of holidays coming up. We have Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and this is a holiday season in the United States. And I think it's really a good idea to stand back and think about any of these people that are in your life, whether it's a relative, a brother or sister, and how can you cope better? And how can you keep from being hurt? And how can you keep these people from imprinting a lot of their toxic behavior onto you? So let's talk about some of the signs. And a lot of these you may know, but I'm going to just go over them very quickly. We kind of mentioned they're takers. They always want to put themselves first, and that will become very clear. They're always surrounded by some kind of drama. And we talked about how to have less drama in our lives. These type of people feed on it, like the vampire. They love drama. They love drawing you into their drama. They want to cause drama in your life. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying, they really want to stir the pot. Well, these people want to stir the pot. So, if you tell them something that happened with your husband and it upset you, then immediately a lot of these types of people will be like, well, how did that make you feel? And what did you do? And they're not interested. They're just trying to cause more drama in your life. They kind of feed off of all of the drama. And if you've ever been around these people, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Um, Many times they don't want to share the spotlight. They want to be the center of attention. Many times they're the kind of people where the first time you meet them, they just start telling you their life story. That's not always bad, but sometimes if they want to be in the spotlight and they don't really have any interest in you and they want to tell you their life story, that's a warning sign, right? And I always thought that there were people out there that really need to come with a warning label, right? Warning, warning. This is not a good person to have in your life. Um, they like to diminish your problems and your issues so everything can be focused back to them. So it doesn't really, I mean, you can tell them, wow, my husband's having an affair, and they'll be like, oh, well, I know so and so and her, and they immediately do not want to know what's going on in your life. They will shift the conversation, they will shift blame, they will do all those kinds of things. They will also diminish your problems um, and your issues. So it doesn't really matter what those are, like we were just talking about. They'll find some way to make them small and then like they really don't matter. And it could be extremely important to you, and all of a sudden they're making it sound like it's nothing. They're constantly seeking emotional support to boost their low esteem. These people have a low esteem, self-esteem, excuse me. And I think that's pretty obvious, right? A lot of us have been around people that have a low self-esteem, and this is a lot of times how it comes out. They like to put guilt trips on you to get what they want. They try to shame you as a weapon to kind of use it against you, making you feel bad. Narcissists a lot of times will gaslight you, trying to make you feel like you're crazy. I already talked about this, I already told you that, when it's not true at all. But they are into, a lot of them are really into kind of being controlling, mind controlling, thought controlling. It makes them feel better about themselves. Um, so again, they're very insecure, and a lot of times they will criticize you which makes them feel better. Now, kids start doing this at an early age, even in elementary school. Well, you don't know how to hit the ball and you do this. Kids can be very mean and ugly to each other. And there are a lot of adults out there that have that same behavior. Same behavior. You buy a new house and they can't say anything nice about your house. Or you get a new hairdo and they can't say anything nice about your hair. They just can't compliment you and be nice to you. They truly crave the power and the control. Like I said, anytime they can get some kind of power, some kind of control, be that person where they feel like they're running the show, that's their happy place, if you will. That's their happy place. Um, they also don't mind intimidating you, especially like in other people. Their goal is to bring you down so they can feel better about themselves. And we've seen 8 and 9-year-olds do this, which is not really that bad of a thing for kids. I mean, it's part of the growing up process. It's just there are people out there that never move past that. Um, so again, they have like zero empathy, which I think we've touched on 2 or 3 or 4 times. So, holy cow, these people sound like monsters. Well, emotionally, they probably are kind of an emotional monster or an energy vampire. Um, but the thing about it is, there are reasons kind of where they came from all of this. And it's very, very important to know that you're going to have to protect yourself. Um, Many, many times they come on very, very strong. So they want to instantly be your best friend. They very often, will stop by your house and come in and start even like rearranging your furniture. They want to come on very strong. They want to know instantly that you like them and that they're going to be a part of your life. Um, and that's pretty tough too. Um, a couple of other things they like to do is they don't really like to talk as much. They love to text. When you meet someone and you find they only want to text you, that's not a good sign. If you have a friend, they only want to text you, that's not a good sign. They're kind of hiding behind some of the other things that are going on in their life. Um, so I think we've gone over a whole bunch of this stuff, and I feel like I am a fairly intelligent person, and I have been caught up in this. Um, multiple times I have been caught up in these kinds of relationships. And eventually what happens is we have to learn how to cope. We have to learn how to deal with these people. So I'd like to go over just 6 different areas that you can check in with you and see how this feels for you. Very often, these types of people, toxic people, do like to be around people that don't have boundaries because they can kind of go in and start rearranging your furniture and rearranging your life. And so, if you are one of those people that struggles with boundaries, you're going to have a very difficult time with someone that has a toxic personality. So, the most important thing that you can work on are some strong boundaries. Oh, we're gonna go out Friday night for dinner. No, Friday night doesn't work for me. So you have to be willing to push them back. And let me just say, if you can't push them back and you can't draw the line and it's not working for you, then you really have to think about whether or not you want this relationship in your life. And I would never tell anybody what to do, but you really have to think about it, right? And another thing that you need to remember in coping with these type of people is you never ever have to feel guilty. Remember, it's them, it's not you. You're not doing anything wrong. It's who they are, how they're made, how they're wired. Maybe their past has caused some of these things for them, but it's not you, it's them. Just remember that. That's probably the most important thing. Say no to the drama. right? And I've talked about this a lot because it took me a little while to get out of other people's drama and to get out of my drama. Say no to the drama, and they will try to pull you in just like this, pull you in, and you have to go, I'm not really interested in talking about that. And you'll find out very quickly, once you identify these people, there are a lot of things you do not want to share with them. Because along with the drama goes the gossip. And you will find that they do not mind spreading gossip about you because anything they say about you always makes them feel better about themselves. So you're going to have to reel in the gossip part of it, the drama part of it. And when they do sort of come after you to be part of their drama or your drama, you have to be strong enough to say, no, thank you. I really don't want to hear about that. I've got to go. I can't tell you how many times I've said to people, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go now. So you've got to find ways to get out of them trying to pull you into their drama or them trying to get into your life and cause drama. Ditch the blame shifting. Okay, this is where it gets kind of crazy. And these people can actually make you start wondering if you're crazy or not, right? So they will find ways to blame you for things. This is very, very prevalent when you have a toxic parent, right? A toxic dad or a toxic mom. Something happened to them when they were growing up, and they could have a personality disorder. They could be a narcissist. Maybe they've been to therapy. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they have a medical diagnosis. Maybe they don't. But the bottom line is they love to blame you for stuff. And you have to be willing to not let that happen to you. They will try very hard to get you to agree with them. Well, you were a terrible teenager, right? You know you were a terrible. And so um, they will try to blame shift. They're always trying to shift things that they're dealing with off onto you, which doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. Um, remember, there's only one more. Remember, you can't fix them. Okay. And this was a very hard thing for me because I have a sibling that is an energy vampire and is a toxic person. You cannot fix them. And maybe they can go to therapy. You can say to them, I really think that you should probably see a therapist. You can be nice to them. But remember, advice is only your thoughts shared with someone else. The only way someone can get better is if those are their thoughts. And they come to you and say, I really think I need to go to therapy. I really think, I have a problem with this. So trying to fix them and trying to give them advice is never going to work. And I learned when I went through my coaching certification program, advice is really, really hardly ever wanted by other people. They really need to come to their own conclusions and they really need to try to figure these things out for themselves. Um, so it doesn't really matter how much you think you can help them or get advice for them or talk to other people. Um, Remember, there's a great saying out there. I love this saying, not my circus, not my monkeys. So you usually have to walk away from these type of people and you have to go, you know what? That's their life. I can't change it. I can't fix it. It's really hard when it's a relative, but that's who they are. If it's a mom or a dad or a sister. And you really do most of the time have to walk away and say they need to go figure that out. And the last thing we can do to cope and deal with these types of people is you may have to spend a very limited amount of time with them. And this is a choice on your part to not get dragged into all of the things we just talked about. The drama, oh, I got to talk to you. I have this problem. They'll always find ways to try to pull you back in, and they'll always find ways to want to be the center of your world and kind of own a lot of your territory. That's really what they're after. So A lot of times, especially if you're dealing with a full-blown narcissist or some of these other very serious personality disorders, you're going to probably really have to limit your time with them. And maybe you see them one holiday a year. If it's a family member, it may be if it's someone at work, you're constantly going, oops, I'm sorry, I got to run. I got to go. I got to call. I got this. I got that. So you have to sort of think about some coping mechanisms that might really work and then be willing to try them out and be willing to put some space between you and that person that really isn't good for you and really isn't helpful for you. Um, a lot of times, what happens, I've noticed in the past, because I've had these people in work situations, if you kind of start ignoring them and not giving them a lot of your time, they want that so desperately, they will start finding someone else who will give them some of those things they're looking for. Remember, they're kind of like a vampire. They're looking to feed somewhere. So if you stop feeding them your time, your stories, all of these things, they will get bored with you because you're not engaging with them on the same level they want to engage with people on. So a lot of times I have found that they will move on, whether it's a man or a woman. They lose interest in you if you're not doing all of that. So it's okay to put you first. It's okay to pull away. It's okay to put distance between you and these types of people, whether it's family or not. If it's a spouse, that's a whole nother scenario as far as how you can stay married to them or not married to them, depending how damaging this situation is to you and your mental state. First thing is identify the behavior and know that it's not normal. It's okay to say that, right? Understand who they are and decide how you want to deal with them. Take a step back and look at it from a distance and go, I never feel good when I'm around her. I always feel this way when I'm with my brother. And then how can you build some coping around that? Um, Set really healthy boundaries with these types of people. I've had a neighbor once, and she came into my house, and the only boundary that I would set, things would get so bad, I would say, I really think you need to leave now, which sounds like a very harsh thing to do, but people will push you to that point. And if you don't have that boundary, okay, I'm not going any further with this. Very often this neighbor of mine was a know-it-all, and so she would come over and just want to come over and dig up my garden and replant my plants. And, she was a know it all. And it was very, very difficult. It was very toxic for me. And it got to the point where I just didn't really want to see her at all. So set some really healthy boundaries with these people. You are smarter than them and you're more emotionally um, centered than them. So you can know their behavior is not going to change. They're going to keep coming at you with the same types of things over and over. So you can stand back and go, wait a second, I know this person is going to do this. How am I going to react? I know this person is going to do that. How do I want to react? And maybe your mom, your dad, a family member, and you can predict what they're going to do because they're very predictable. They're very predictable. It's always all about them. That's the bottom line, right? And so when you know that, you identify it, you recognize it, you're aware of it, then you can start working on how to change that for you. And the other thing is you may have to find ways to spend a lot less time with them. If for some reason, I just want to say this as the last thing, if for some reason you've had a person like this in your life, like I have, you may need to go to a therapist. They may have left some deep scars on you, and that's not unusual. That's not unusual at all. Sometimes it comes out in weird kind of areas like guilt, and maybe it's shame. Maybe you have a different way that you feel about yourself and you wonder where that came from. Well, if it's from a mom or a dad, very often It's good to go to a therapist and just get it out. Get it out, get it in the open, and try to move past it. As you know, I'm not a therapist, I'm a life coach, but I deal with a lot of people that need both and do both. And so if anyone has left those type of impressions on you or has changed you to that point, do not be afraid to step out and get some healing around that. And the most important thing is that you put you first and you protect you. You protect you, your family, and what's important to you. And it's very confusing if it's someone close to you. It's very, very hard to say no and limit your time. And I get all of that. But do what's right for you and do what feels good for you. And learning how to say no is such a confidence builder. It's a self esteem builder. It really can bring wonderful things into your life just by saying no. No, I don't want to spend time with this person. No, I don't like the way this person makes me feel. Those are real thoughts and real feelings. And I hope you'll pay attention to those. And I hope that you will find better ways to cope with the vampires out there and the toxic, toxic people. It is a real thing. It's very real. And I hope that you haven't had to have too much of this in your life. But if you have, or if you are dealing with it now, please do get some help and do find ways to deal with it better because really it's all about you feeling wonderful about yourself and full of love for yourself. And you don't want anyone to take that from you. I have loved this time together and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. And I hope maybe this might have helped you if you were ever in that kind of situation. Bye, loves.